Hey, what's up everybody? We're back. So today, first thing we had to do was go to the machine shop, check in with Uncle Bob. We ran into a couple snags up there. Check it out. What do you say, Uncle Bob?
Hey,
Doing okay?
I'm here now.
I see that.
Your block is in the hot tank and washed.
Good. So first things first, we get the block all cleaned up out of the hot tank. Bob blows it all off and blows it all out with the air hose to make sure everything's out of the block and everything is as clean as humanly possible. When it comes to running a machine shop, one of the most important things you can be is efficient. And Bob set this shop up so that he can do almost everything all by himself. He uses this really nice gantry crane to move engines and heavy parts from one place to another without hurting his back. Once we had the engine on the work table, Billy got it ready for the engine stand. Bob had already calculated the bob weight by weighing the connecting rod and the piston assemblies and had the bob weights already set. So we were just about ready to spin the crank and make sure that the balance is correct. Once the crankshaft balance checked out okay, Bob put the crank back in the hot tank to clean it up. Next, Bob started to disassemble all the connecting rods from the pistons to check wrist pin clearances. Bob found that the wrist pin clearance in the connecting rod was a little bit tighter than he'd like to see, so he honed the small end of the rod to set the wrist pin clearance at 0.8 of a thousandth of an inch. Once the rods were resized, they were chucked into the hot tank for cleanup, and then we'd put the rod bearings into the rods, torque them down, and start checking for rod bearing clearances. Next, Bob starts teaching Billy the proper way to torque down the rod bolts and the Oliver connecting rods. Oliver calls for 30 foot-pounds of torque and then 53 degrees of rotation, not just a standard torque specification. So where are we at in the process now, Billy? Torquing them?
Torque the mains, and they're just going to check all the bearing clearances.
Okay. Up until this point, everything was looking really good. The last thing we needed to do was check our main bearing clearances.
2-1. Holy shit. We got a problem.
What's the
Way
matter?
big problem. We're at 1.4, 1.5. The back side's 1.4, 1.3. So then we come up to this next one. Now we're at 2. 1, 2, 2. Now, same thing, 2, 1, 2, 2-1, 2-4, 2-4, 2-3.
So the rear main's a little tight.
Yeah, and the rest of them are too. We normally set these at 2-8. So if it was me on these 4, I would put a half under bearing in it. Or a half over X series bearing. But this one here, you put it even 1X.
Very disappointing to get this far, only to find out we need to line hone the block. So Bob double and triple checks both the main and the rod bearing clearances just to be completely certain that what he's seeing is what we're actually dealing with. And the decision was made. So what you want to do is line hone this thing?
Yeah, I would say get a little bit more legit. That's what he usually set it up at.
Okay. That's why it's here, Uncle Bob. So the story on the engine that we bought is that someone had the engine built originally to make 2,000 horsepower. They put it on a dyno. It made 1,200 and some horsepower on like 20 pounds of boost and developed an oiling problem while they were dyno testing it. So the engine was torn down and found that one of the rod bearings had gotten hot, starved for oil. So they resized that connecting rod, put a new crankshaft in it, honed the cylinders, freshened it all up, put it all back together, and the engine never fired again after that. Everything about that is absolutely true. However, what we found today is most likely the reason that the engine was having oiling problems. The main bearings were set just a little bit on the tight side, and some of the rod bearings were set just a little bit on the tight side as well. So, no big deal. But everything preliminarily that we checked looked perfect, like spot on. So Bob didn't check the line hone before he put it in the hot tank. He figured it must be good. Everything else looked perfect. Not so much. No big deal. That's why we took it to Bob. I knew that if I took that engine to Bob, he would tear into it and he'd go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and if there was anything at all out of spec, Bob would find it. We can correct it before we put it in the truck. We found one other thing today also. The one rod bearing that had gone out, that had gotten hot, you can see that that one rod cap has a little bit of discoloration where it got hot. As Bob was torquing down the rods, remember in the video I said that Oliver calls for 30 foot-pounds and then 53 degrees of rotation. Well, Bob's torque wrench, he's got a really nice torque wrench, way nicer than anything I got. Bob's torque wrench will show 30 foot-pounds, and then it shows you how many degrees of rotation you've turned the bolt after you've reached your torque spec. It also shows what the torque is of the bolt after you've reached that 53 degrees. And all of the bolts all showed within the same pound or so. Very close, except one. The one rod that showed heat, you could see a little bit of heat in the rod cap. The one rod bolt in that rod was tempered. It was hardened from the heat. And that one rod bolt, you could see on his gauge, when he pulled it down to 30 foot-pounds and put 53 degrees to it, it showed it was taking way more torque to set that at 53 degrees than all the other bolts. That tells us that that rod bolt had gotten hot enough to temper, harden, and it's now much more prone to breaking under load. So Bob has ordered all new rod bolts for the engine, and we'll get back on that probably tomorrow. But it just I just wanted to share that with you guys, because what Bob found today with that torque wrench and going through all the mains and the rods and all that most likely saved Billy a $20,000 engine. always check, always double check. No matter how good preliminary inspections go, you have to check everything. We still got one hell of a deal on this engine. It's an incredible deal, incredible deal. Mike did us a hell of a favor. It was just one of those things. He never had been into it. So we're on the right track. Just gonna be a little bit longer. No big deal.
They're smoking.
Why would you do that?
Why not?
For these flowers.
I'm not hurting.
So dumb.
So Tigger, let's talk about this. You got yourself a new sander? You went today and got a new sander?
I did.
You're serious about this. You're not fucking around, like you're serious. So let me ask you something. When you got that Blazer, tell me the reason you got the Blazer. Because I feel like you were trying to impress Allison, and this probably wasn't going to impress anybody.
The truth is.
The truth is what?
You
I'm ready.
hyped it up.
Whoa, 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 wait. I hyped up what?
Listen. Remember, we were working one day, and I was on Marketplace, and I saw it. He's like, message him right now. We gotta go get this thing. We need to save it.
Wait. What? This?
No, the Blazer.
Oh, no. That's not how that went. You had been looking at Blazers, and this was like...
I've been looking at S10.
Okay, but you had found 2 or 3 of them, and they'd gotten sold out from underneath of you, and you were chomping at the bit for something to drive to go see your girlfriend.
Exactly.
And the little Extreme Blazer popped up, and you're like, Dad, this is the one. You were in a fire sale hurry to go get that thing so you could go see your girlfriend whenever you wanted. Tell me I'm wrong.
It up too.
Well, I mean, it looked like a pretty good little Blazer, and it really is.
It is. Somebody already offered to buy it.
Really?
Yeah, I've been talking to somebody.
Oh, God. So, you're back on the C10.
Yeah.
After 5 minutes of working on that Blazer, you've decided this is the ticket. Dude, I think this is going to be a cool project.
If we really want it, this thing could be road ready by the end of the weekend.
Probably.
We could take that out tonight and put the other engine in. I can guarantee you. We don't have a carburetor for it or anything, do we?
Well, the one that's on it runs. It's got a quadrijet on it. Hey, listen, Terry, T-Mac, Uncle Terry at Jegs, dropped off a brand new set of ceramic coated headers for this thing.
I know, they're in the box still.
Right. So we've got brand new headers. We've got a good engine.
We've got a bed full of parts. New grill, glass.
There's a windshield, there's grill, there's bumpers, turn signals. Like, I think I even bought door handles.
Yeah.
And we've got the brand new windshield. The back glass is in the shop. The glass guy lives right around the corner. It won't take long. I'll let you go, because I know you're chomping at the bit to drive this thing. Hey, you need to start hitting Marketplace for a seat.
Bench.
Whatever. I was just going to put a set of bench or buckets or something out of like a new style 96 Suburban or something like that, or a Silverado with a fold down armrest in the middle, and just put one of those in it.
That would be cool, but if we put a bench seat in it, then if me and you ride in it, like June can sit in the middle.
Yeah.
Or...
So just look for a 60/40 bench seat with the fold down armrest, and then you can fold that up when you're not using it, and then June and Chevy can ride in between us. We got a plan.
Sounds good.
All
Hey,
right.
what's the plan here? Because this just goes straight down to Bear Meadow.
Just take it down as far as it'll go. We're just going to primer it for right now until we decide fully what we're going to do. Sound good?
I'll sand this last. I mean, it's sitting outside, so
I understand.
I'll sand this last. I'll probably sand this all the day that we decide to primer it.
Okay. All right. I'm going to start looking on Restoration World's website for whatever else we need. Mom's put me on a spending freeze.
Spending freeze.
Yeah, so that's an issue. I might have to start selling some RC trucks.